It's 2020 and currently the world is experiencing a crisis like never seen before. The coronavirus has rapidly spread across the globe, collapsing industries, hospitalising thousands of people and resulting in many fatalities. In this episode, our business manager, Claire Austridge, is discussing whistleblowing with Joe Brown, the HR manager who is a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, MCIPD.
Hi Joe, thanks for joining the Skadi podcast today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. As an HR manager, I wanted to talk to you about whistleblowing. Here at Skadi, we do a lot of financial investigations and they're on the back of a whistleblower. So I just thought perhaps to start with, you could tell us what a whistleblower is.
Thank you, Claire, for inviting me to this podcast, of which the topic is a very interesting subject. So what is a whistleblower? Well, the whistleblower is a person who has a genuine concern in good faith relating to a suspicion of a inappropriate work activity, wrongdoing, anything that's unlawful or immoral in the workplace. It's not about a complaint of their own personal circumstances. It's an activity that's going on in the workplace that seems to be inappropriate, unlawful, illegal. So that's the difference between really what a whistleblowing policy is and a grievance policy. If it's personal, it's the grievance. If it's something that somebody's seen that's not right or doesn't appear to be right, then it's under the whistleblowing policy.
And whistleblowing does seem possibly that you're, dobbing on your work colleagues, something like that. What challenges, is there for a whistleblower to come forward?
You're absolutely right. That is one of the biggest fears for a whistleblower, that they are seen as a grass to their colleagues. They're the traitor. They can be seen as the selfless martyr. The whistleblower will go through a battle of emotions with themselves, probably, in terms of deciding whether to whistleblow. The repercussions for them that they'll probably consider would be, for instance, their reputation could be damaged, that they are seen as a whistleblower. And in the financial industry, I'm sure that it's a small world. Lots of people know people. So if the whistleblower wanted to go for an external promotion or even an internal promotion, they might fear that that could be held against them, that they have a reputation of whistleblowing. So they'll be concerned about that. They'll also be concerned about, will their colleagues, not engage with them, send them to Coventry. There'll be things that they'll think, how am I going to be able to manage, carry on working if my colleagues know about that? They will also probably think that they could lose their job. It may be that they have absolutely 100% good reason to bring a case under the whistleblowing policy. And on investigation, it may be that actually the suspicion of wrongful doing wasn't. And therefore they might think, this person who I thought was doing something wrong has been proven not to be. Therefore, where does that leave me? Because often things on the surface might not always be the case underneath. So there will be that scenario that they'll take into account. The main one will be that they'll be seen as, the grass and the traitor. So it's really a battle of, can I live with my conscience if I don't do anything about it? Or can I live with the fact that I've put my hand on my heart and I've come forward? So this is where HR need to really be supportive to the whistleblower, in that it takes a lot of courage and bravery to come forward and disclose concerns and suspicions about a wrongdoing. So for HR, they need to reassure the whistleblower that they're acting, professionally, and that they are actually protecting the organisation, because they have highlighted concerns of inappropriate activity that's going on in the business. So for HR, it's very much about trying to be able to protect the confidentiality of the whistleblower if they can. If we can achieve that, then that is the best outcome for the whistleblower, because if nobody knows that they were the one that blew the whistle, they are protected. There will be, in some cases, situations where a whistleblower will have to come to light. Who was it? But again, HR need to speak to the that person concerned and explained why and how they're going to handle it. Whistleblowing investigation can often take a long time. It can be that lots of people are involved. The situation could have been going on for some time. So the investigators will be trawling through everything. So during the period of time that the investigation is going on, HR need to keep in contact with the whistleblower to make sure that the working environment is okay. They're not being penalised for the fact that they did whistleblow. People are being respectful to them. They're not being sent to Coventry and blanked, not involved in work situations where they should be. They're not being ostracised. HR needs to be mindful, if there's any sickness that starts occurring, is this because they're finding it uncomfortable coming into work, because they're being labelled? How are they dealing it with their conscience? Because often once somebody has disclosed a concern, they'll then worry, oh my goodness, I've done it now, there's no going back. So there can be a repercussion of emotions on that side of the fence. So it's very important that HR has that regular contact, even if it's just, how you doing, how are things? Hopefully it'll be, yeah, everything's fine. But we need to be mindful that sometimes it can be difficult for that whistleblower, and we need to be there to support them through the process.
Some of our investigations we do, they're complex products, trading, they can take years, just the investigation, let alone obviously, if it's going to court and things like that. So it can be a very stressful, possibly lonely time for somebody who has done the whistleblowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing where, HR and appropriate managers can come in, and really it's about saying to the whistleblower, you've done the right thing. You've done, for yourself, it proves and demonstrates, how professional and ethical you are, but you've done it also to protect the company. The hard bit's done for you now. You brought it to our attention. You now focus on what you're doing in your day job, leave the rest to us. So it's trying to not keep them embroiled in the investigation unless we have to. It's trying to keep them doing their day job without sort of feeling isolated or, bullied or ganged up on because of their whistleblowing actions. And this is where it's really important that if you can keep it confidential, try to, because that's the best process for the whistleblower during it. Because like you say, it can go on for years.
But if say that someone does bring a case forward, but someone at the top of the company, because it's the reputation of the business, maybe even, the company could go bust or, lose. It's a bit of a balancing act, isn't it? Because, it's...
Yeah, again, it's like, that's the dilemma that the whistleblower will have to go through. But if they don't bring it to the table, the company could go bust anyway, or could get found out through a different method rather than whistleblowing. Through the regulator. So ultimately, you have to think, if it's doing wrong, at some point, their fingers are going to get burned and it's going to all come tumbling down. So it's a bit, can that individual live with themselves? And it's about doing the right thing. And I think, again, it's from an HR point of view, it's particularly when people join organisations, the reputation of the company speaks volumes. So if somebody was looking to change jobs and that, would they want to come and work for your company? What's their reputation? Yes, they're a hard-working company, they're professional, they're honest, their integrity is there. And therefore, if that company has that reputation, one would think that whistleblowing is taken seriously and that any wrongdoings or illegal activities was stopped, dealt with, and therefore, the company can continue to operate in a professional and lawful manner. So it is about, you're doing the right thing, weighing it up. If you don't do something, somebody else may. It's a bit like, do you leave it to someone else to do? And, if you don't act on it and then someone else does, how will you feel? You would possibly feel, well, actually, I should have done that. So it's thinking about all those things. So the emotion that they go through will be a challenge. So once they do come and whistleblow, that's where you really need to give them support. Often somebody will come and they will hint, I've got a situation, I'm not quite sure what to do with it because I'm worried about the implications. So they won't often come with the whole whistleblowing, this is what's going on. They'll come and they'll want to test the water in terms of if somebody has a situation that they need to whistleblow in, what protection do I get? Yeah. You'll often find that will start and you'll think, oh, hello, something's going on here. And so that's the time you've really, in particular HR, have really got to make sure that they feel supported and that professionally and morally it's doing the right thing. We will support them through the process. It's, in particular, if it's against one of their line managers, for example, they'll often then go away and they'll think about it. So HR has that, if you like, power to influence them that you will be doing the right thing if you decide to whistleblow, because we will be there to support you. And you're doing it in good faith. You might not know all the reasons and the facts that go behind it, but what you're doing is right to raise a concern to us. That's all you're doing. You're raising the concern. Leave it to us. We'll investigate. However, in the meantime, what you've done is very brave and you will feel concerned. So we are alongside you all the time you need us. Hopefully that will then give them the final confidence to then come and tell you the detail about the unlawful or the inappropriate activities that's going on.
I suppose also that if you've got a robust policy, then hopefully it will detract people from wrongdoing or illegal activity because they know that it's taken seriously and will be dealt with, and the company protection or that sort of thing is good. So hopefully it will avoid the wrongdoing in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important that on day one, of a new employee joining the firm, as part of their induction, whistleblowing is covered. The policy and the procedure are clearly expressed and stated, and that the message comes across. We do take whistleblowing seriously because the reputation and the success of the company hinges on it operating lawfully and legally in line with regulations. So if you have any suspicions or concern that the company isn't operating in that way, it's your duty, and we want to know about it so that we can correct it and put into place any procedures or eliminate anything that we need to make sure it does. So actually we see it as a really responsible element of your employment that this policy is there for you if you need it, and we will take it serious. So if you bring that in on day one, which is often, day one is the important day for a new employee, it soaks up everything about the company and the morals and the ethics. If that's whistleblowing's on the agenda, it's in there, it's in their mind, they know about it.
And also whistleblowing in America, I believe some people get paid for whistleblowing, get a percentage of what with the costs or whatever in whistleblowing. So UK, we don't do that, or
no? In the UK, there's no financial reward on a whistleblowing case. I mean, in some ways, it could be deemed as if somebody does whistleblow and a case is investigated, and actually, it was right to do that, and certain actions have been taken. In an appraisal, it may be that the line manager says, what you did there was admirable. So it can be recognised like that, in that, you stood by your morals. It was a tough decision to do, and we recognise that you took that stand, and it's really credible. So it can enhance someone's credible reputation because it is a difficult thing to do. So you can certainly have that dialogue, and it could be brought into some form of recognition in your appraisal and your performance. But in terms of cash, right, you whistleblew, here you go, we're going to write the cheque for you. In the UK, that doesn't happen. In America, yes, it's known to happen, albeit it's not a statutory thing whereby if you whistleblow, you will get X amount, and every case that you whistleblow, you get paid out. It's not quite as straightforward as that. It's much more complex. And obviously, cases, the more complex they are, like you mentioned previously, they can go on for years. It's not necessarily automatic that if you whistleblow, you will get paid out. Because the dilemma with that is, if people think, if I whistleblow, I'm going to get a payment, people will could tend to start whistleblowing on things really they're not whistleblowing. There could be a bit of fabrication to, well, I'm going to whistleblow on that and I'm going to make a few bucks. So again, there's a thin line on that. You don't want to encourage whistleblowing for the sake of somebody making a few bob. It needs to be a genuine concern, and you're reporting it in good faith. So it goes back to, is it genuine and is it reported in good faith? This isn't somebody just wanting to get a bit of extra money and, they'll investigate and realise there wasn't any case to answer, but there's no repercussions for me because I did it under the whistleblowing policy. So it's a thin line, and it's not an automatic right that you would get some form of payment in the States for whistleblowing.
So you don't think in the UK that would...
No, most certainly. There has never been any in terms of legislation that there should be a financial compensation. And I think the feeling is, again, it would perhaps abuse the policy.
Yeah.
And people, we have a grievance policy when it's about individuals' circumstances. When it comes to the organisation, you could possibly be introducing any slight little, I don't think that procedure's right, well, I'm going to whistleblow under it. Well, that's not really what the whistleblowing is about. So it's a bit like don't dangle the carrot when there's nothing to bite. So, yeah, it will be recognised in that discussion of a performance review or an appraisal in terms of, you did the right thing, you showed your professionalism and your credibility, and we are acknowledging that. And actually, that could help you in good stead for a promotion because you are that credible person. So it can be rewarded in other ways as opposed to a lump sum.
And just, obviously not naming names and things like that, but have you been involved in many whistleblowing or any experience with whistleblowing yourself?
I have been involved in a whistleblowing case that actually involved drugs, and there was an allegation of somebody appearing to be under the influence, and obviously without going into too much detail, it was absolutely right for the person who whistleblew to come and tell us and what they saw and heard and that type of thing. It was absolutely right that it went under the whistleblowing because they did have a genuine concern and it was raised in good faith. However, in the investigation, mitigation came out, evidence of something that made the situation not as black and white as you would think the end result would be, which is often the case in these situations. But again, it was right that individual raised it to our attention because on that, it actually made the business, it was to do with a warehouse and machinery and things like that. So what it actually resulted in is the company bringing out a policy on random drug and alcohol testing. So, so for this person who had a concern, whistleblew, we, went through the process and supported this person through it. The outcome was that it's not quite what you think. Yeah. There wasn't a dismissal, there was a disciplinary sanction. However, from that, this is a serious issue, and we as an organisation, perhaps we need to do something to be seen to be acting responsible in terms of alcohol when we have machinery. So therefore, we introduced random drug and alcohol testing for critical roles that dealt with machinery. So that's a positive that came out of it. So we promoted that when we were introducing the policy, the new testing about drug and alcohol, that this is a good thing for you. It's your health and safety, and it's come about by somebody raising a concern, and that is what the whistleblowing is about. So, that was a good thing about a good experience that came out about it, and that's what we promoted to our employees. This was a good thing, and we're doing this to protect you. So it wasn't, oh, you're a whistleblower, you're a traitor. Actually, it was a good job you did that, because if somebody was under the influence and drove a piece of machinery or equipment and there was an accident, where would where would our protection be to our employees? So yeah.
Oh, that's a great example of positive whistleblowing.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much, Jo. Really enjoyed that chat about whistleblowing and empathise perhaps with some of the whistleblowers on what they have to go through. Definitely. Yeah.
And it is about supporting them and just talking to them, because all different individuals will need different levels of support. So it's just making sure that you keep in touch with the whistleblower, keep reassuring them that they've done the right thing by bringing this situation to the attention of your, HR or the senior team, but just keep in touch, to just keep monitoring that, you're reassuring them that they've done the right thing.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I think the sun's come out in my room because I've got a bit Thank you very much, Jo. That was really interesting.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to episode 7 of the Skadi podcast. Stick with us on this journey as we, like many of you, are trying to navigate these very uncertain times. This is the Skadi podcast.